This was good enough for 62 United States senators of both parties to vote for this package. This was good enough for a majority of the House of Representatives. It overcame all the factual challenges. It just could not overcome the toxic internal politics of the House majority. We respond to innocent victims of natural disasters, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as Americans, or at least we did until last night. There's only one group to blame for the continued suffering of these innocent victims: the House majority and their Speaker, John Boehner.
Ouch.
Yeah, Christie laying it on hard there, as he always does. You know, every time I hear Chris Christie or I see him at these press conferences, and I think a lot of people have talked about him as a presidential candidate. There are concerns about his weight, and not because people say, oh, he's just heavy, because it's an actual health concern of his. But I'm telling you, he would be so good as a talk show host, if nothing else. And I like Piers Morgan. I think Piers Morgan should go back to Great Britain, and he could watch all those cricket matches that he's always tweeting about. I can't believe Ipswich has done it again. That bound...
it's so true. I just started following him, and there was a lot about that.
And soccer, you know, or as he would call it, football. And he'll get so worked up if Manchester United makes a change in the front office. Yeah, Van Basten, son, who's joining me in my outrage? Well, nobody here, Piers.
350 million people, right? Not. But it's true, though. I mean, you know, he's like, this is the federal disaster relief is the one area you thought was apolitical, and that's what the point he was making, Governor Christie.
Well, and we've seen, you know, in the past with Ike and Katrina, that it's usually 10 or 11 days before there's some sort of aid, you know, from the feds coming in. In this case, we're talking about 60 days and counting. Get a lot of people worked up. Do we have Peter King? Now, here's another guy who has no problem speaking his mind, Peter King from New York, and here's what he had to say.
These Republicans have no problem finding New York when they're out raising millions of dollars. They're in New York all the time, filling their pockets with money from New Yorkers. I'm saying right now, anyone from New York and New Jersey who contributes 1 penny to congressional Republicans is out of their minds, because what they did last time was put a knife in the back of New Yorkers and New Jerseyans. It was an absolute disgrace.
Now, when Jim Kirk, the senator, was talking about hearing those angels who sounded like they're from New York, I think that might have been one of the voices he was hearing. Now, John Boehner today is saying, hey, look, we're going to get this out here. It's going to happen by January 15th. We know there's outrage from both sides of the aisle. I mean, Peter King's another Republican there who criticized him, and he's saying, look, we're going to make this happen. To help us sort through all of this, we're going to go to Politico's excellent man on the spot, Adam Snyder, to explain to us, why is this taking so long? What is the deal? Yeah. What is it going to get done?
What's
Adam.
it all about?
Great. Well, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks for joining.
Looks like, as far as timelines, it looks like, a few days ago, right after the fiscal cliff vote, we thought we were going to have a vote on it immediately. Turns out they put it off. That's what provoked all these statements from Michael Grimm and Mr. King and all these others. Looks like now the House is going to be voting tomorrow on about $9 billion in flood insurance money, which is needed as quickly as possible. And then they've put off a vote on the remaining money, which includes subway money and a number of other things, until before January 15th. So within a few weeks, but obviously not quick enough for a number of New Yorkers and New Jerseyans.
So certainly not. I mean, it's been some time. So what is happening with these people who need this money? What are they doing right now while they're waiting?
Well, there's a number of government programs that can help them out in the meantime. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, still has, I believe, a few $1 billion that they're able to spend. But I think the big thing here is sort of the area receiving the attention. You know, whether or not it gets the money now or next week. I think they just sort of saw this as a lot of people, the delegation and the everyday citizens back there just sort of saw this as a slap in the face. As you guys pointed out, it's been over 2 months for that aid, whereas Ike and Katrina and Rita and some of these other aids came within a week or two at the most.
And Adam, nationally, for those of us who were spared of this and just saw the horrible images from the East Coast, things kind of fade from the national consciousness. Sometimes people move on, especially with the holidays. Everybody tuned in to see that amazing concert, which raised a lot of money, but then you didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. So obviously, this gets people talking about it again. I'm sure it helps with just the adjunct donations, people seeing this and hearing about this and hearing Chris Christie and Peter King and saying, you know what, maybe I'll donate a little bit to the Red Cross and get some money there.
Right, definitely. And it can also get some people fired up politically about this, too. We saw a couple pretty big-name Republicans criticizing their speaker that, then soon after they all had a meeting with him, and they sort of toned down that rhetoric. But this one of those issues that, as we've seen, sort of crosses political lines. That, it's more about the area that was impacted more than Democrat versus Republican.
Was some of that criticism, Adam, do you think it was unfair by Chris Christie of Boehner? Because he kind of made it personal. He didn't kind of make it personal. He made it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it unfair, keeping in mind that he represents this state that had this major disaster hit it. And as you guys pointed out, he's always been one to speak his mind. And us reporters always appreciate that when so many people use these vague terms and don't really want to tell us what they think. So, we definitely appreciate his frank words. And I don't think it was necessarily unfair, just sort of considering who he's representing there.
Well, can you break it down, like, just for average folks? Are they hanging in the balance right now, unable to rebuild, unable to do what they need to do in order to start getting on with life because of this aid? Or how is it truly impacting people?
I'm not totally sure on the individual level. I'm sure some people are definitely waiting on checks, whether it be for housing or this or that. I don't think there's a major impact of a few weeks delay. There is a lot of, for example, in New York, there's a lot of transit money in there that would help the MTA in New York City help rebuild their system, and I know they really want to get an early start on some of these mitigation projects that would hopefully prevent flooding in the future. And if another disaster like this comes, hopefully they'd be better prepared. So I don't want to say it's make or break, but I know these agencies and the people definitely want the money as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Sure, because a lot of this, of course, will go toward more like rebuilding type efforts. And the truth is, Chris Christie kind of made it sound as if like people were waiting in line for the food bank to open. He said these innocent victims aren't getting any help. And the truth is, they are getting a lot of help, but much more is needed.
Right. Yes. I'd say that's a good way to put it, and that's always a popular, using. I don't want to say he was using them, having victims of disasters and other things. That's always a popular tactic for politicians to have them line up behind them at a press conference.
Thanks, Adam. We appreciate it. Good job as always.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
It's an interesting point, too. You got to remember, Chris Christie, he's the governor of New Jersey. He's not the senator from New Jersey. So his primary interest, not to say that he doesn't have great passion for whatever he talks about, but he's always keeping that in mind. So that's a home run with New Jerseyites when he's talking about how we need this money now.
Sure.
And Peter King, who is a congressman, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like, look, they're looking at home base. And when they say anybody that doesn't help us out shouldn't get donations or, this is unconscionable. Well, the locals, especially those affected by this, are saying,
yeah,
go get them.
You're right.
And there were this behind closed doors meeting today. There could have been some talking to a little bit from Boehner and from other folks saying, you're not helping your cause here in the long run. We get what you're saying, because they did come out of there going, well,
this wasn't so bad. Yeah,
wasn't so bad after all. It's like, don't forget who's writing the checks and making sure the checks get delivered. It's fascinating stuff. The sad thing is, if even one person or one business or one road or one place doesn't get rebuilt because of politics, it's ridiculous. And we saw a lot of that with the last-minute negotiations with the fiscal cliff, where people were still throwing a little pork in there. Politics sometimes, well, not sometimes, always are. Their politics remain the same, no matter what.